Welcome to Bullet Point Bulletins weekly wrap-up for the week of March 5th, 2023. Hello, I am Bruce Burke, and I am here with the Richard Blaze of Fintech, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Ted Huff of Fintech Confidential. Now I'm going to send it over to Ted, and Ted will please share with everyone what we're going to be talking about this week.
So this week, we're going to be going over the $33 billion fintech giant Revolut reporting its first ever annual profit. That one's a real interesting one. The gaming engine Unity has added MetaMask to its functionality among a number of other new Web3 tools. Polygon, decentralized ID, is a product powered by ZK proofs. And last but not least, the Snoop Dogg is Launch Shiller, the live streaming app where everything is shoppable. So we're going to be hitting these four stories this week. There's some really good stories and a lot of interesting things that go along behind this stuff. But Bruce, I'll let you kick off the Revolut side of the house.
Well, like you said, it's how many years you've been in business and you finally turned a profit? They're huge, right? They're huge. And that's the thing now. I mean, companies don't have to start out like, I was talking to one of our locals a couple of weeks ago, right, about fundraising, and, he's on a fundraising tour and all this. And he's like, well, you're probably not real familiar with the different phases of fundraising and da-da-da-da-da. I said, no, I'm from the day when we used to actually have to be able to have a sellable product and have profit. And, we called it a small business back then. But, I'm glad they're finally moving in the right direction. But that also says that, are they there? Have they invested everything they're going to invest in their platform? Have they reached a plateau? Or, are they just, they pointed at some measures, they were being a little more conservative. They weren't, spending freely. They hadn't bought any new luxury cars this month, and
Yeah, what I think is kind of funny is if you look through this, and I mean they compete with banks like digital banks like Wise, Monzo, Starling, as they mention in here, and these guys have expanded. I mean, they've expanded overseas. I mean, they're a European company. They've expanded to the U.S., Brazil, Mexico, India, and they have over 25 million users worldwide. Now, something that I noticed as I was doing some additional research on this, their accounting firm, a company called BDO, said, and I don't remember the exact number, but there are some revenues that were unaccounted for where they came from. Or actually, I should say there were profits that were unaccounted from where they came from. So they got put into the revenue bucket, which is one of the reasons why they were able to hit this. So I think it was like $100 and some odd million, or some odd number. I can't remember the exact number. They got put into that, but it was the only reason why they were able to hit the $33 billion profit is because of these unidentified profits.
Unidentified flying objects, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. But I mean, they are privately held. They haven't gone public. They're working to get their UK banking license. They're still looking to secure some additional external funding. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. But, what's really interesting is that they came to the U.S. and they just launched their pilot program. They decided to put a pause on it because, I mean, heck, honestly, it happened right about the same time as the pandemic hit. So, I mean, smart move putting it on hold, but they're starting to spin that thing back up. So it's going to turn out to
they were also in the news this week for lopping $5 billion off their valuation also.
Yeah. Something that I heard last week on a panel of a bunch of PE firms and family PE firms, venture capital, family offices. I mean, there's like 6 of these guys up there. And so they aren't really calling a down. They're starting to stop. Excuse me.
Starting it's a long day.
Oh man, yeah. They've stopped calling it a down round. You know, when you hear about somebody raising money on an evaluation that's lower than your last one, it's typically called a down round. But what they're starting to do is they're starting to call them a new round, because the valuations in the last couple of years have just been weirdly high.
They were amazingly high, especially for Revolut, and I think they knocked 20 billion off not just a couple of months ago. Am I right on that?
I think I don't remember off the top of my head, but you know their valuation has continued to come down as they've been balancing out and reassessing the market, and that's the corrections that everybody's starting to see, and I think that's why the investment community isn't calling it down rounds anymore. They're seeing this is a correction. It's not that the companies aren't doing what they're supposed to. It's not that the companies aren't moving in the direction. They're not delivering on what they said they were going to deliver. It just means that the market overall has corrected. And that's why they're not really wanting to call it a down round. But there's been a ton of, and I'm going to be putting out a podcast here in the next week or so about all the investment that actually happened in February. It's a shorter month, but we still had a ton of investment. And it's looking to be really, really interesting to the types of things that are getting investments into them and what their valuations are falling into.
Yeah, there's a lot of correction going on everywhere, right? Not just at Revolut, right? Revolut actually, in the article, they were giving them more kudos, really, for and saying, a lot of other firms really aren't doing that well in comparison, right? Even some of their competitors, the Monzos and the Starlings and all that you were talking about, right? Yeah. And I think Monzo's getting ready to do an IPO. There's been rumblings in the channel about an IPO coming out of Monzo, but I don't think they're going to do it quite yet. I think everybody's like trying to get that momentum going again post-pandemic, right? Yeah. And I think they're probably going to wait to the second quarter or the third quarter of this year before they do that IPO. But there is a lot of rumblings in the channels about Monzo doing an IPO.
Yeah, and I'm coming back to Revolut. I do not know why I'm yawning so much today, man. But one of the things with Revolut is that their worst case scenario is that they weren't sustainable. They are, and the reality is that he says here that they don't require external funding. They're going to continue to invest in the business and building on the products, which is something you brought up. Are they going to continue to invest? It sure looks like they are. And I think, just looking at the next line down, they are expecting the revenues for 2022 when they finish their final books to be about 30% at about $850 million. So that to grow that much, grow an additional $850 million. So
that's a nice round number to grow to. It's not like this company is struggling to survive. They're obviously pushing a lot of money, and they're a bank without all the restrictions of a bank, and two, they're a bank without all the physical maintenance of a bank, right? They don't have any physical headquarters. There's no locations. There's no branches. It's all online. That's fantastic, right? And that's going to make them a lot more profitable. And as they grow, give them a leg up over a lot of other companies.
Well, and at the same time, is it they're coming out with this positive news, as I have it highlighted here. Klarna, the Swedish buy now, pay later fintech, saw its valuation plunge by 85% to $6.7 billion last year. And on Tuesday, the firm posted a record $1 billion loss in its 2022 fiscal year. So when you have these guys coming out and talking about their successes and what they were able to do, that is fantastic. And there's a lot of really cool things that are going on at this company. I'm really glad that they've been able to pull through where some others haven't.
Yeah, it's been a bloody last couple of months. Ever since it seems like coming off the pandemic, everybody was, kind of, nose up, kind of moving, as far as like being on a boat in the water. And then the Fed started, ratcheting up the interest rates, and it kind of brought the boat down on a plane, and they're just not moving like they are. And so you got to admire anybody who can navigate those waters, right? And keep their boat, at least moving and moving forward, and not panicking and not downward spiraling and not, making up some whole new concept that they're going to go, some new tangent that they're going to go marching off on that, other companies have done in circumstances like this, right? They, we're going to go do this, and that's going, they're just moving forward with the same exact plans they've always done.
That they are. And, you're one of the things that I noticed in the stories for this week is that everybody is moving forward, right? A lot of these are positive, which, man, I love being able to do that. There's plenty of FUD out there already. And, as I'm reading through these articles every day, it's so hard because you're like, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one.
Listen, you know me, I'm out there and I'm read the news from the time I wake. First thing I do is reach for the phone and look at Apple News, right, and start going and look at your FTC WEB3, and I'm specifically choosing stories that are upward trajectory and something new and something interesting. But I'm posting the stories about Sam being on a flip phone, and I'm posting the stories about, this one, a bunch of crypto ATMs being shut down and this and that and everything else. But people want to hear positive news. This industry has so much going on, and there's so much garbage being spewed into the channel. It's nice to, put some fresh air out there,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll wrap up with the thing that at the end here that came to mind when you were talking about that. But the one thing that I think is really cool is that the Blockchain Founders Fund raised $75 million, and they're doing this to encourage mass adoption of Web3. And this fund that they've raised is it's crazy huge. They're as we talked about earlier, the fund already has invested in over 100 startups, companies that you may have already heard of: Altered State Machine, Splinterlands, Grid, Crayon, and Magna, just to name a few. And they're looking to add another 200 companies to that portfolio within the next 12 months. So I think
some big guys threw in on this too. Polygon's in on this. Andreessen Horowitz, I believe, is in on this. Sequoia's in on this. A lot of the big funds are brought this money together. I forget who was the impetus that started the whole thing, but it's a group of companies that are about blockchain, right? And they want to move Web3 forward. And I think that's the greatest thing in the world. Like you're working on your podcast. I'm working on a longer form episode, kind of an explainer, but at the same time, kind of a deep dive for people. Everything you always wanted to know about Web3, but were afraid to ask. Kind of a play on that 70s book. Philip Roth, I think, wrote that one back in the day.
Yeah. And one of the things about this investment group, I mean, they're looking at the non-volatile innovations, cross-chain bridges, payments, remittance, lending, decentralized anonymous organizations, or DAOs, as we call them. Asset management, and digital identity. So the part that I really like about this is it's not going into, is this a security? Is this a commodity? It's not going into the SEC realm of spaces. It's actually really looking to solve real problems. And that's one thing that makes me really happy to see that.
The one spokesman, it was the tail end of the article that I read, and I think it was the one I shared with you. He said that, we are keeping abreast of, the changes in the industry and what's going on. So, we're covering ourselves, right, in relation to all that stuff, right? I forget his last. I want to say I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but it's almost the last paragraph of this whole article. There it is. We take necessary precautions to navigate regulatory uncertainty by staying abreast with the emerging trends in blockchain governance as they continue to evolve over time. Finally, we leverage our industry connections, including leading institutions and investors in the space to help our portfolio companies succeed. And that's the, what's his name?
So it's Majav.
Majav
did
it. Yeah, he was the spokesman, and I think that's a good thing. Another thing,
Majav.
Yeah,
Majavi.
And then another thing that they said that I've heard a couple of other companies said on articles that I've reported on is we're looking for real world use cases.
Mm-hmm.
That term has come up 3 or 4 times, right? In other words, don't bring your desertly and your friendly and your your goofy apps, to this space. This is people that are serious, and these are companies that have a real world use case and are doing enterprise business and all that sort of thing, right? That's what these companies are interested in. So they're not looking for the Shillers. I hate to say it, but the Shiller. They're not looking for that.
Well, I mean, and you kind of look at this, and I think there are plenty of people in that space already, right? So you've got MetaMask, who has been added to the gaming engine Unity recently, among a number of other web tools, and and Unity also created this decentralization category page too. So in their asset store, and they've got 13 vetted crypto platforms.
I think if you go to like who's the number one engine, I think Unreal is the number one engine for game creation, and I think Unity is like number 2, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that they made a category, right? They added MetaMask. They added a couple of other blockchains into their thing. And essentially what they're doing is they're providing a platform for developers to integrate these Web3 tools, despite what the gaming industry, despite what you keep hearing in the news stories, that gamers are rejecting NFTs and gamers are rejecting tokens and all this crap. Let me tell you, every game, every player, they're buying a new shield, they're buying a new sword, they're getting a new car, they're clothing their character, they're putting a hat on him, whatever. That's an NFT, that's a token. I don't care what you say.
Well, and I think that's part of the issue, right? Is that we've had this discussion before, but when you call it an NFT, people are like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. But if it's something you can collect, you can buy, you can share, it's like where do I give you my money?
Yeah. Shut up and take my money. I need another sword. I'm dying fighting the boss, and I need some more life. Where's my NFT? Right?
Right.
It's. I think it's really in giving them Web3 without them knowing it's Web3. You know what I mean? Kind of.
Well, and if you come back to it, and in this article, it also talks about DApp Radar reported that gamers made up nearly 48% of all blockchain activity in January of 2023. So that and there are a number of other items that I've heard talked about where, the artists are starting to say, hey, we're not going to do NFTs anymore because our royalties are disappearing. Well, I hate to say this, but like, if you aren't writing good, smart contracts, that shit will happen. You will lose money if you're not writing strong contracts. And I think that's the place where we're at today. Is you've got those who are technically adept in writing the contracts, and then you have the artists, and you haven't really seen a really simple way to bring the contract development to the NFT that isn't in a centralized manner, that has a propensity to not deliver on expectations.
Listen, one of the biggest in the business, Coinbase, they launched their NFT marketplace, I'm going to say 6 months ago, because I think that was about the first time I heard about it. And they say even though they haven't gotten like great uptake on it so far, they're continuing the push. They see the future in it. They see, they think and I think there's great potential in it. I think that the music industry, the fashion industry, the art industry, high end, all these high ends and the luxury goods, your Louis Vuittons and your Givenchy's and that sort of thing are going to adopt this stuff. And then it will, in the words of Ronald Reagan, trickle down to the mainstream,
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing, expectations initially were set just out of control.
Oh yeah.
And if you
just
look
like
at
everything else.
Right. All the Web3 stuff, expectations were set out of control. And now we're getting to a point where we're having the correction, where the correct level of expectation is starting to be delivered. And yeah, it's going to frustrate a lot of people. It's going to make a lot of people mad. I mean, like you mentioned, Coinbase, they announced their wait list for the NFT platform in October of last year, and they officially launched it into a beta April. Oh, sorry. That was actually, the wait list was October 2021. They launched it into beta in April of 2022. And then in their Q3 earnings call, they said that they weren't getting the amount of uplift that was expected, but based upon the economic environment, that it was doing better than others. So I think that was really, really nice to see.
Well, you got Blur and OpenSea going at each other fork and knife every day too, right? And there's a big battle going on over there. So, dude,
I'm telling you, those two, like, I think they're looking for who can find the biggest thing to beat the other one up, man. It's
well, Blur's just throwing all those freebie tokens out there too to all the people, right? And they're like, but again, the problem is throw too many out there and then they start to lose value, right? It's interesting watching this stuff from the perspective of the dynamics of it, right? Not just the stories themselves and the people and the money and all that, but the dynamics as, companies swell and deflate and, rise and fall. And the dynamics of the market to me is it's really interesting. And, we talk about it kind of, this company lost, $25 billion off their valuation. We talk about it very lightly, but those things to investors mean a lot,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's difficult.
It is. But a lot of the things that are going on, the reason why you see the constant ebb and flow is because we're watching it so closely. Number one, we know very seldom do people watch the individual stocks in the stock market at a broad level that we're talking about here. And then you get into it also is that this is one of the first times that retail investors can actually control the movement, the up, the down of the market. And I don't think people realize that without extremely large institutional investors that make up for 90% of it, you're going to see greater swings. Whereas now it's small, it's, I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing it's less than 50% is done by large investors or whales of that sort.
Yeah, I was reading an article yesterday about Web3 and where it's going, and they were talking about a project called The Gimmicks that was a NFT TV web show kind of a thing, right? And how involved the audience got in it, and the fact that the audience, because they're steering the plot and steering the characters through a DAO, right? And putting their money up to essentially manipulate the characters through their environment. It had each person was watching one of the shows like 40 times. Something that you would never see on a regular TV show that's being broadcast from ABC, CBS, NBC, right? They're essentially spending 40 hours on one episode, these people are. So it's right at the razor's edge between gaming and collectibles, right?
Yeah.
It's right on that razor's edge, but the people that are participating are really participating. They're not casually participating. They're in it, right? And they're working it, and it's really interesting to read about all this stuff.
So I'm going to switch over to our next topic. But we talked about the Blockchain Founders Fund and raising things, and they'd mentioned around identification or ID or digital IDs, right? And one of our stories today is about Polygon launching their decentralized ID product powered by ZK proofs. This is one of the items that you and I have talked about a number of times that I think is a really big opportunity for blockchain, not crypto per se, but the blockchain itself lends it. I mean, it makes it so much easier once you've created that identity that's been validated across the nodes. I think it's good.
He seemed to think. I'm not thinking of the guy's name here who is quoted in the article, but the guy from Polygon, Schwartz is his last name. But he's saying that this is going to go mainstream, right? This is going to make it easy enough where everybody can go mainstream with it, and they can do it. And it's got a bunch of different moving parts essentially to it that actually makes it work. But zero knowledge sovereign identity was something that Mirek was talking about all the way back at the hashtag Pay Show in August 2019, right? He brought the girl from Sovereign, and that's right along the line of it. It's the same concept. It's the same. It's just that they're doing it where it's scalable and it's easy to get on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you look here in this article, and I'll read it out loud. If you're listening, we've got this on the YouTube video, and there is a picture here that shows the identity holder subject of trust, the verifier, the consumer of trust, and the source of trust, which is the issuer, and that whole circle that comes into play. But then also, this is the piece that I think is really cool, is that real world level of trust comes into play. Users will be able to produce zero knowledge proofs using off-chain credentials, such as their passport, national ID, a bachelor's degree, and they will use that to interact with contracts and verify information on chain.
And also some biometrics and other, that sort of thing too, that, you'll find in, most of your phone payment stuff, right? All that stuff's included. If you could scroll back just above the illustration there, it kind of lists right there. Stop. You went too far. A little bit more that way. There you go. The public release includes 4 tools that makes this all happen together. There's a verifier SDK, software development kit, right? There's a user node. There's a wallet software development kit. And then there's the wallet app, right? So all these things are working in conjunction, like 4 watch gears, right, in order to make all this happen. And a lot of it is so this week, just in a couple news stories, a lot of new tools being given to developers to easily incorporate Web3 into whatever they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice that it's getting and it's leveraging the ETH network for that. And with it being based on Ethereum, it's going to be able to scale quickly. I mean, I can't imagine how many side chains you'll be able to link into, app-specific items, any sort of hybrids between stuff. But that zero knowledge for a layer 2 is so nice to see.
I wish that Polygon was doing an IPO. I'd be the first one in line to buy a piece of that. I'd like to get 1% of Polygon right now because it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. Almost every week I'm doing a story about that company. And they're making a move almost every week in one way, shape, or form or another, right? I mean, it's...
Well, I like the idea. I mean, everybody's going to laugh, but the reason why I have an Apple Watch is because it allows me to log into my MacBook without having to type a password. I know it sounds silly, but here's the thing:
and you can log into the Apple Watch with your Apple phone, right? You just put the watch on and you look at your phone, and it's like, oh, you got the watch and the phone. Oh yeah, here you go. Right?
But the reason why I bring that up is because the whole idea around this is to make it passwordless logins in exchange for a verifiable credential by scanning a QR code or connecting desktop wallet. So I'm thinking about it this way. So I can log into sites using my watch, using the passwords. So now if inside of my Apple Wallet, I've got this and I'm able to do that, now I'm able to bank. I'm able to buy things. There's so many things that I can do that require verification and validation of who I am. And I think that is going to be really, really cool.
A big part of Apple's thing moving forward, and your new watch has it. Not all watches have it, but I think from the Series 7 up, they put the U1 ultra wideband chip in the Apple watches. So it's not so much for Find Me, even though, it obviously makes it easy to find your watch in between the couch cushions, right? It's more for proximity where the devices all know where each other are.
Yep.
And how close they are to each other. And so if you got your phone in one hand and you got your watch on the other wrist, right, it knows it's, right here. And so it's easy to unlock, either one of those devices. And if you're sitting right in front of a MacBook there and, it's like, oh, okay, well, we got the Holy Trinity going right here with Ted and, let him in and let him spend for God's sakes. You got the purple? What do you got? The white? You got the white one, don't you? Silver.
I actually got the gold one.
Oh, you got the gold one. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been the black and the silver, and I did the dark green one. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with something a little different.
Sunset yellow coming out this week. They're going to do their spring release. It's going to be sunset yellow on the Pro, and it's going to be like a pastel kind of a yellow on the standard.
So we're going to go off on a different tangent. I'm excited that they're actually bringing in a real dark red, possibly for the next version of the iPhone.
That'd be nice.
That'll be like a really deep red. So that's going to be kind of cool if it actually happens. There's so many rumors about that stuff, but
I wish they'd come back with a jet black one like the 7 Plus. That was a gorgeous phone. That enamel finish they had on that thing was just gorgeous. That was a pretty phone.
What's funny is that my favorite phone style is this. So when they launched the 4, it was basically this style. I mean, we went retro with this style.
Except for those big-ass camera bumps on the back.
Yeah, that's only going to get worse, man.
Periscope on the 15. Periscope's coming. Those things, that's like a cooktop on the back here.
Oh, my gosh.
Moving on.
Moving on. So, hey, our last story for today, this guy is in everything. And I'm telling you, this guy, Mr. Snoop Dogg, is
with the BRUCE.
I'm telling you though, but he the other artist that just in a different way, but still just amazes me as will.i.am, right? So Snoop goes after a lot of the trendy, more hip, more fun type stuff. That's his personality style, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Will I Am, both SoCal boys, by the way, that goes down the route of like more of community development and community growth and things like that, to give back, to his communities. And I'm not saying that Snoop doesn't do that, because he does. I mean, man, have you seen some of his son's football teams, and he coaches, football league and all that fun stuff too. But I just think it's cool. I mean, he embraces, I don't know if you want to call it the dark side of things, but all the vices, he embraces them. He talks about them. He doesn't hide them. Unbelievably authentic. And when his son told him about NFTs, he's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And he got into that.
That was the impetus for the whole thing, right? I mean, he released his last album, not this new stuff that's coming out, but he released his last album and did a whole NFT thing behind it. Yeah. Of course, there was rarities and different levels, right? There always is. But in 24 hours sold $2.6 million worth of NFT songs.
Yeah.
And albums, right? Very quickly. And he trades himself. He goes, for a long time, he was on Twitter as Cosmos Steve, blah, 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 I forget the name, but right. And nobody knew it was Snoop. And he was on there, trading and doing the GM and all this stuff every day. And, really took it up, probably more than any other musician. But this thing that he's starting with this 5-aught commerce, right? The platform, is really, really something. It's a whole new platform where creators can go on and they can do live video. They can do streaming audio. They can apparently upload recorded video also, right? And they can token gate access to music, art, songs, people themselves, right? Allow access to themselves if they're a big star. And Snoop has a gallery of homies, right, that he's bringing in, and they'll all be on this platform, right, and they're all going to be, releasing songs and doing live chats and AMAs and all that stuff, and this thing is going to explode with somebody like him behind it. This Shiller. And I love the name, right? It's because that's what everybody's doing out there, right? So it's like, hey, if you're a Shiller, hop on, and you can you'll be able to issue NFTs. You'll be able to token gate your content. You'll be able to engage an audience and share with them and chat with them and everything right there. I mean, it's a little different than YouTube, right? And it's a little different than all the Instagram stuff and all that stuff that's out there too. And it's not just for the pros. It's not just for, Snoop and his guys. And he's working with this, what's his name? Sam Jones from over there in the UK, who's done so many projects and so many things. And Sam's actually the guy behind the platform. He's the one that developed the platform. Snoop is just the celebrity that's utilizing it and taking it to the people also at the same time, right? And bringing people into it. It's to me exactly what needs to happen.
Well, they've been working on it for three years, I think is what it was. And one of the things that I wanted to point out here is McKinsey has talked about the gross merchandise volume off of social commerce to surpass $400 billion this year. Now, here's what's really interesting is that I was on a panel and we were talking about what is it that's holding the U.S. specifically back from blowing that number out of the water. And there are two things. Actually, one major thing is trust. Trust that the product you're buying is what you're going to actually get. That the person that you're buying it from is who they say they are. And so when you start to go into this and you go into the zero trust area that we talked about with blockchain and NFTs and all this other stuff, you've just solved for those two big issues. I don't know if you are who you say you really are, and I don't know if I'm going to get what you say I'm going to get. And when you come into a platform like this, that's a big deal. And there are a number of other platforms out there that are really doing well, but your traditional social media channels are not going to do nearly as well as a company like this that is focused in on a community. And I think that's going to be the big thing, is this is going to be a community, and this is not going to be the only one. There are going to be many others.
Actually, this 5-Bot Commerce platform is a white label. And there's another brand that's launching at the same time. They're not as big as Snoop, and they're not calling it Shiller. They're calling it something completely different. It's you can find it on their website. But you're talking about Sam Jones. Sam Jones was behind Wish.com. He started Wish. Mm-hmm. Right. And you're talking about not getting what you think you ordered.
For real.
Wish is like, that's like Wish Central, man. So maybe
you wish it was really what it was. You really wish that the thing you got was what you ordered.
Because it probably wasn't. It was badly spelled, and they included every possible thing that you could possibly be looking for in the title of the damn thing. Gaming console platform, N64, PlayStation 3, all in the title. But anyway, but Sam is. Nobody, there's no flies on Sam with this 5-Bot Commerce. He knows exactly what he's doing,
Yeah, and there's a project that I'm working on that is a video commerce solution, similar to this, but designed differently. It's designed for local businesses. It's designed for very specific communities to be able to basically give you an educational content. Be able to buy the product or service after watching the content or during watching it. And there's a bunch of other things that are going on in that. And it just, when you build that trust, it's going to work and it's going to happen. So,
and that's the thing, being able to buy it in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the gaming sense, you're buying the health, when you're about to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about consumer products, tangible goods, right? And not everything in Shiller will be tangible goods, but I'm sure they're
going to have virtual gifts. They're going to have where you can buy emojis, buy some additional chats with people, voting games. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff that are going to be throwing in there, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure there'll be physical merch too, and as well as virtual merch for your avatars, right? You'll be able to up your avatars and add another trait to them or something like that. That's seems to be a growing thing. It's interesting to watch it all going from tokens and ICOs and all that, and now, like you said, the market's kind of correcting itself, right? And now it's all going in this direction of this social commerce stuff, right? Again, back to the concept of social mobile payments, right? From years ago, right? It's really something. And the fact that it's Instagram-like, right, is very interesting.
Yeah, we reviewed and talked about another product a few weeks ago that was around the same style, looked very similar. The difference is that this one's dark screen, whereas the other one was light screen. It's kind of funny that that's the variation between them all. But I mean, the layout's the same, the look's the same, the things you can buy are the same, the ability to share it out to the traditional networks is the same. There's just some really, really cool stuff that's going on in this. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they actually pull out of this.
Well, by
the way, I submitted the request to become a Shiller. We'll see what happens.
You and me both, because this whole concept that I've had forever of building a conference and being able to offer an NFT as the token that you have to get, and you'll join the conference a year down. You'll be at the conference a year down, like Gary V's V Friends, right? That same concept can be done right here. I don't have to do anything. It's all right there. I can build my own community. I can set up the NFTs. I can token gate the event. I can, give them access to the Discord. I can, and engage them all the time. And there is a hashtag pay Shiller application out there. If you're listening, Snoop.
Oh my gosh. Well, man, I mean, we just hit on 4 really big stories for this week. I think, it was really nice to not be talking about a lot of the regulatory stuff, not about all that fun stuff. It's really nice to get into more of the artistic and the growth of the communities piece of it. And Bruce, I appreciate your hard work and really pulling these stories together and making sure they're on a positive note. This has been fantastic this week, man.
Yeah, it's not. Sometimes you got to dig, right? You really do. Sometimes you got to dig to find something that's uplifting and positive. Because there is a lot of noise out there still. There's still a lot of fallout coming out of FTX and everything else. But there is a lot of good stuff coming, and it's coming in this form. It's coming as games. It's coming as music. It's coming as art. It's coming as fashion. It's going to change the way Hollywood does movies. It's going to change the way designers do fashion. It's going to change the way artists do music. It's going to change the way that illustrators do cartoons. Everything is that. And it's good, and game companies. It's going to change how game companies think about games and how gamers think about games, right? Because there's so many. There's even play to earn now, right? Madden's NFL never let you earn a damn dime, right? It lets you spend plenty, right? But you never earned a dime. No matter how many successful touchdowns you threw, right? You didn't earn nothing.
And the video game, and you and I have talked about this, right? I haven't been a huge video game fan because just like you were saying, I felt like I was just spending time with something else and not really, I don't know. It's just something
you weren't accomplishing anything. I remember the last game I played on Facebook was Mafia Wars, and I was like, this is so redundant, right? It's just over and over. I'm just doing this, doing that, doing this, and I get things and I grow bigger. And it's like, why am I doing this? It's no fun whatsoever. But this stuff, I mean, this is interesting. This is fun. This is exciting stuff. And I've even I downloaded Mario Kart from Apple Arcade and have been playing Mario Kart on my iPhone. You can't get it on the arcade on Apple TV. You can't play it there, but you can play it on your phone. And let me tell you, I coming out of the gate, I'm second and first place every time, baby. Whoop, whoop.
Oh my gosh!
Throwing bananas behind me.
Spin us out. All right. Well, as you've thrown the banana behind you, let's spin us out of here.
Okay.
What do we got? What's Bruce working on, and what should we be thinking about for next week?
We should be thinking about for next week, if you are a thought leader in fintech, Web3, blockchain, AI, and all that other sorted stuff that kind of hangs around the fringes of that. If you're one of those kind of folks, please contact me about being set up for your hashtag pay interview. Started working on a site. We're building out the site. We're building out the studio. We're building out the all the marketing and the rhetoric and all that stuff. So if you're a thought leader, if you got a new product, you're releasing a book, you're trying to, you kind of reinvented your thing, and you're going back out there, as you should every couple of years. Get on and do a long form interview and have a chance to really describe and tell people about your brand and your products and your creations and your perspectives. So that's my big thing I'm going on. And as I said, I'm working on a script right now. It's in script form, kind of a intro to Web3 as well as a kind of a deeper dive as to how, what, where, why, when, kind of a deeper investigation beyond like where we're going here, right? Just a little bit deeper, maybe another fathom or so.
And Bruce, if they want to learn more about it, like, do they email you?
Well,
how do they get
right
hold
now?
of you?
Right now we're not going to announce the web address yet because boy, it looks awful. Boy, it looks awful, but it will look great in a couple of weeks here. But you can reach me at Bruce at burke.bruce@gmail. And if I say the email address, I'm giving away the URL, aren't I? So I'm not doing that. But I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Insta. It's Bruce Q Burke on almost every one of them. I'm Bruce Burke here on YouTube. Reach out. And please, folks, subscribe, like, share, follow. I really would like to get more subscribers. I'm starting a campaign this week to push to get more subscribers. It's starting to get rewarding. People are starting to follow. People are starting to listen and look. And I want to further that. And so if you're even remotely interested in any of this stuff, please give us a subscribe, give us a follow, give us a like, subscribe to me, subscribe to Ted, Bullet Point Bulletins, pay interviews, all that stuff. On to you, Ted. Please tell us where you're going this week. You're the traveling dude. I'm the guy at home all the time.
Believe it or not, I'm actually going to be hanging around here in the studio for the next this week. I was thinking it's a couple weeks, but it's only this week. This week I'm hanging out here in the studio, getting a whole bunch of stuff done. Next week, somebody might be able to find me in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you want to get together, just hit me up. You can reach me at hello@fintechconfidential.com, FT Confidential at Twitter. Fintech Confidential on everywhere else. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can find me at Ted, TEDDHUFF. Man, I tell you, if you do a search, you're going to find me. The WhatsApp, the Telegrams, all of that fun stuff. I'm out there. You can find me. But I'll be doing that next week. And then the week after that, I turn right back around and I head back to Las Vegas, Nevada for Fintech Meetup. It is going to be great. One of the great things that I like about the Fintech Meetup is lots of one-on-one contact. It's kind of like speed dating for Fintech, and you get to talk to a lot of really interesting people, products, companies. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking to, I'm going there as media, as Fintech Confidential, and I'll be talking to lots of startups, lots of banks, just all over the place. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do video, if I'm just going to do audio. I'm just trying to figure out what my kit's going to be. We'll figure that stuff out as we go along. But after that, I mean, we're launching podcasts, we're launching videos, really, really putting out a lot of content. You're going to see a lot of shorts from us, just kind of getting you to understand all the interviews that we've done. So, man, it's been really, really good. And of course, everybody take a look at the Telegram channel. I mean, Bruce talked about it. It's Web3 with FTC by Fintech Confidential. And really it's your news feed, man. It gives you everything going on in Web3 without all the repetition. We take care of cutting out all the repetition so you don't have to see it in multiple places, and you can find it at Web3 with FTC.
Great. And most of the stories on there, you don't have to have a subscription to all the paywalls of the Frommers and the Barons and the Wall Street Journals and all that. This is publications that you don't have to scale a paywall in order to read the content. So that's the good things, right? One
of the other things hey, Bruce, just going on to that, one of the things that we've done here recently is we've started extracting the content out of the article and presenting it, because we were running into situations where It was behind a paywall. Now we're not delivering it for free of charge. We're not plagiarizing, but what we're doing is that we're giving you a little bit of our summarization on what that story was about. So you get an understanding, and that way you don't have to worry about paywalls.
Yeah, and I. Although I was, talking earlier about, I don't want to get off into a tangent. I was talking earlier about token gating and all that stuff. I think there's a necessity for that for some publications now, as nobody's buying their physical publication. I think it's, a survival mechanism in a lot of cases, right? It's just like you subscribe to the physical newspaper. Now you're subscribing to the digital newspaper, right? But I think there's even going to be, like there's play to earn. I think there's going to be like learn to earn instead of like a paywall kind of a thing.
So it's interesting you say that, because I have an app on my phone, and I'm not plugging for them, but it used to be called Carrot, and it was taken over by Bitcoin Magazine. And if you read the stories that are in here, you earn. Oh man, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Earn with every Bitcoin that when you read, you earn Bitcoin for reading the Bitcoin news.
I'm a prognosticator, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a prognosticator. I had no clue that even existed. I just made that stuff up.
So, but like, this is a new phone, so that's why it's not set up. Because I typically read a lot of it on there. But I've been reading it through their web interface, which you don't get paid, by the way. You have to do it through the mobile app.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely think it's going that way. Alrighty, dude. We've rambled long enough. Thanks for another great week. And hey, man, we'll see you same time next week, man.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
I left that to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Pow.